Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today is a bit different. Today is the first pod that we have on our new YouTube channel. We've been talking about it for a while. It's been in the pipeline, but finally we've got our own platform. So make sure before you do anything while you're watching this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the link. If you're watching on Twitter, the link is in on our Twitter profile. So make sure you click over to the link, subscribe, and like. This is just the beginning. All of our pods are going to be on here. We're going to be podding here, but we're also going to be doing more content, not just doing weekly pods. We're going to be putting out more stuff throughout this year. So make sure you join us, subscribe, join us on this journey in boxing as we try to explore more about this sport and the industry and everything involved around it. And of course, for the first pod that we have on the channel, I've got none other than Samps. Samps, how are you, bro?
Yeah, all good, man. All good. Looking forward to the year ahead of the boxing we've got going. So it's looking positive. It's been positive. Great things happening. So yeah, man. You move.
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on quickly because we didn't get around to it. It happened, I think, 2 weeks ago, but we'll quickly touch on how the year started. And then there's a couple fights I think me and you have got a vested interest in that are being talked about, which is quite big, even though they're not what we think they might be, which I'll get into in a bit. But of course, if we're going to start the year, we're going to start off with one of the world title fights that's already happened with Jao Pataya taking on David Nika. That was on a Wednesday, and it was in the afternoon, so it was a pleasant thing to watch during work. I thought it was a brilliant fight. I think, David Nika coming on short notice didn't hide away from the challenge. He went after Jao Pataya, tried to take it to him. He even buckled him in the round, which is quite interesting to see. But Jao Pataya does what he does, where he doesn't really break the opponent down per se. Technically, he's looking to whack their heads off their shoulders.
It's just spite, man.
He just kept going at him, and David he's sometimes, because he's being 6'6", he just gets too upright at times, and just was on the end of those lead hooks and those left hands, and the knockout was sensational. I mean, David was literally face down. It was scary to see because I think they had to wait for a couple of minutes for him to get back up. But it was spiteful, it was brutal. There were some sticking points though for Jao Pataya that kind of makes you think you can't really get away with this higher level. But it's the kind of knockouts that build a fighter, and it kind of builds your profile that you will show on highlight reels going forward. Jai is someone that everyone's been talking about for the last couple of years now. Especially people have been talking about him on a high standard, quite high standard. Mm-hmm. What was your thoughts about the fight and what your takeaways from it?
Yeah, boy, like he's just kind of shown what he's been shown. I think the opposition was the kind of opposition where he could kind of showcase, the level of spite that he has, the willingness for him to happily stay and exchange and like get right in the ring of fire. And you can see he's comfortable. That's where he wants to be. He doesn't really want to, have a tiki-taka that type boxing match or like play chess. He wants to go straight for the bombs. Like, so where Nikia represented that, game on. And he was game. He was very game. And I think he's kind of said to himself, you know what? I'm limited in experience. I'm not going to knock out boxing. So let me bring the war team and see what happens. And we nearly did see we did see a chink from that, which I'm not really going to read into it too much because at the end of the day, it's boxing. If you swim, you're going to get wet. And when you're both trading heavy blows like that, things take place in it. So him getting buckled didn't really mean anything. He recovered well and got back to his game immediately. No, and I think he knows against the opposition, he can get away with that. I don't think necessarily as he goes up against stronger opposition, he won't necessarily leave himself as vulnerable. Like against Breeders, he wasn't as vulnerable because it was a much bigger, better opposition. Actually, no, that's not true. He was open as well, isn't he?
That fight, he was getting chased down in the second fight. He was getting chased down.
Yeah.
But Breedis is Breedis. Like that guy, even at that level, would beat most cruiserweights right now.
Yeah.
Breedis is an elite cruiserweight. He'll go down as probably a top 5 cruiserweight of all time. He was that good, Maurice Breedis. But you're right in the sense that there are some things that you take away where, at the level, you shouldn't be doing this. And also on short notice, you kind of don't have many things to fall back on because you haven't prepared as well for that type of fight. But I think sometimes he gets too carried away. One thing I've noticed about Jai, he barely uses his jab.
Yeah.
It's just it's just there to touch, and then throw. He's not, jabbing with it. He's just there to play with the lead hand, and then either throw the lead hook behind it or throw that straight right hand on that looping right hand left hand that he throws. So it's quite interesting, and sometimes he'll go gung ho into the fire, which can get him hit. And he was wobbled there. You can tell his legs. He had to kind of thing, but he's got a good chin because he didn't kind of lose any momentum from it. It was just reset. But the thing I would note is he's being set to a high standard that I think a lot of people are overdoing it.
It's a talk to him fighting Usyk, isn't it?
Like they're saying, oh, he's the only one that can challenge Usyk, and they're already bypassing the cruiserweight division, thinking that he could go to heavyweight and already do something. And I think, there's a guy in the cruiserweight division who's done a lot of work in 2024. You can't discount, and that's Zerdo. He beat 2 world champions. He didn't mess around, stepped straight up to that weight class and took both of their belts. Gulamiri and CBS, they might, you might not consider them to be the level of Jaya Patai, and you might consider that Jaya Patai would probably beaten them both. But Zerdo done the work. And against CBS, he looked fantastic on the inside with the combinations. He really beat up. It was one-sided.
Yeah.
Chris William-Smith, and showed the levels. And he's got an aspect of his game where he's on the inside. He can throw the combinations and he can try to bully. That he could do to Jaya Patai. And Jaya might struggle because Jaya is always good at, the lead hooks and the quick combinations from the outside, not on the inside. So it's quite interesting to see what how people rate Jai, because I feel like he's quite good. I do rate him. I think he could probably be the best cruiserweight on the planet. I'm just not going to overdo it and say,
you're not going to give him that strap yet until he's like solidified himself.
You have to, because his best win is Breedis, yes, and that's a very good win. That's a very tough win. But there were other champions in the division, and you have to take them on. You want to be known as the best, you've got to take on the other guys in the division. And up until now, Riyadh, if we're being honest about Jaya Patai, Matchroom and Riyadh season haven't really delivered on the title side of things. Yeah, they've delivered in terms of promotion, and if he didn't go to Matchroom, he wouldn't be this big. So they've delivered on that side, but they need to now deliver the next fight, which is Zerdo. It has to be him. There's no other kind of option for him. What's your thoughts on that fight? If that fight was to happen next, do you think, who would you favor, and how do you think Jai would come up?
I do think his levels. I'm not gonna hold back. I think his levels, and I do think he probably takes him out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I do think it's gonna be a competitive fight, but I think it'll be like much like what we've seen from him, is competitive until he gets stopped. Essentially, like, because he does have so many open. He is open to attack, and he's prone to, because he wants to sit in the in the line of fire. He's gonna get hit, which makes for a fan friendly fight. But I do think ultimately he stops him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a potential that he could stop him. I think he definitely could. I think he'd be my favorite to win that fight, but it wouldn't shock me if he lost. It genuinely wouldn't shock me if he lost. I think I said on the episode with G-Man, I said he's probably my pick to get defeated, because I just think there's that one fight that might happen, like the Nika fight, where, especially at if it's a heavy puncher, they just need that one little shot to get through, and that's it. The game is theirs. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares there. Ra says there's been great fighters who don't have much or any inside game. Usyk and John Jones, for example. I think Usyk's inside game is not, like, he's not an Andre Ward.
Yeah, but he's definitely got enough. I don't think he's a great puncher inside, but he's good at handling himself defensively, and he's strong.
Yeah.
So he negates a lot of work that bigger guys try to do inside. I've seen a lot of technical breakdowns since, like, the Fury 2, and how he's like negated Fury's arms and ensure that he's kept safe. And likewise with age as well, on the inside, he's always been quite tidy in slowing down opposition from getting anything off.
Yeah, and he pushes them off like they're nothing, and then gets straight back to work with it. I mean, I wouldn't say he's an Andre Ward inside fighter, but like you say, he knows what he's doing in there. He's not stupid in that, and he's got that ability. Ra also says Zerdo can't punch at cruiser. I don't think he hurts Jai the way David Nokia did. Yeah, but he's got combinations. I mean, if you look at the CBS fight, the hands are quite quick, and especially at that level, you don't have to knock a guy out, but if as long as the work rate's up, you're going to frustrate him, and then you're going to make Jai miss because Jai doesn't set up his shots a lot. He he throws the lead hand, and his hands are quite fast, but he doesn't set the shots a lot. So sometimes he can be frustrated up quite a bit. But I think, look, I'm going to say, I think he probably does hit Zerdo, because the one thing I don't like about Zerdo, and I saw that in the Bivol fight, it was too easy to bully him with a faster fighter. Bivol found it too easy to push him on the back foot and take him down. So, yeah, I'm not too certain that Zerdo does do a job on him, but it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think, I hope they make the unification next for Jai, because that's what we want to see next. Is we want to see him against the champion, and then after that, let's see if it's another unification, go for undisputed at cruiserweight, or move up to heavyweight and go after the big monies there. So now the next thing we've got on the agenda is a fight that's quite interesting, and I know it's got everyone's attention. It seems like Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford are coming to a deal for a September fight for Canelo's unified titles with Riyadh season. This is quite interesting. So, Sams, obviously, you're our resident Crawford expert. What's your take?
So, I don't want to sound like a bias or anything like that, but I think Crawford's going to find out the hard way. Like, I think he's going to find out the hard way. Like, I think it's going to be... And you know what? I don't even necessarily care that Crawford loses this fight because he's chasing greatness. But what I do care about is you've asked for this fight, you've called him out, and you've literally chased Canelo. Like, you've chased him to a point where, because Canelo was dismissing the fight, saying like he's going to get no credit for this. It's not going to be a good, it's not going to be a good matchup, and he's going to get slayed at the back of it. But the public is now starting to clamour for it, to where Canelo's now been he's being tempted to the races, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crawford cannot afford to now come out of that fight and say, yeah, he bit off more than he could chew, and have a stinker like a Charlo did. He has to go on the shield. He has to go on the shield. That's the only way you're going to get any kind of accolades from this fight, because what you're doing is insane.
Yeah.
And this isn't a Will Spence that was doing the best impression of Mr. Glass. This is the real deal in Canelo, and weight classes are there for a reason. And Canelo is not just a formidable force, but he's a pound for pound great, like solidified. This is not a young Canelo. I've seen someone put in the comment against Mayweather. And we've seen how he's handled himself appropriately since then. He's going to do a job on Crawford. If Crawford for any reason decides he wants to get inside, this isn't. And on top of it, I don't want to discredit Crawford's resume, because at the times of the fights that he had, they were great fights, against Gamboa and Pistol and do you know what I mean? But on those names, the only marquee name on there is Errol Spence, and that was a broken Errol Spence.
We're still running that.
It's not regardless. Okay, even if you want to say what you want to say, it is not a prime Errol Spence. We know there was something not right with this guy on that. Factually. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you think that if your ego has got you to a place where you now feel like you're invincible to go and face Canelo because of the back of that, you are going to find out the hard way. It's going to be nasty. Which is why I feel like he's going to get in there, understand the levels, then get on his bike, and then do what Charlo and everybody else does when they fight against Canelo. And basically, the fight becomes a win for surviving. And I'm sorry, but you can't do that. You call this guy out. So go out your shield. At least if you go out trying, man, all the accolades to you, win or lose, because what you try to do here is insane. You chase down Canelo of all people at 168. Mad.
Yeah. My thoughts on it is, if you look at them technically, Bud is the much better boxer. Bud's much better than Canelo as a boxer. But
when you say much better,
I think he controls the distance much more better. His timing's much better.
He's got better feet. Yeah,
much better feet. IQ is a bit better than Canelo's. I think. But the problem is, it's not the skill gap isn't big. It's better.
Cool.
He's better.
Okay, cool. I like that. Fair enough. I can live with that.
The skill gap is big. But it's not big. He's just big, better than him.
Yeah.
But you're going up 14 pounds in terms of weight classes. You don't have a big enough skill gap to make up for the physical advantages, because Canelo is a good enough boxer to use those physical advantages to his advantage, and actually beat him. Like the difference between Usyk and Fury, for example, and everyone's taking that, is obviously Fury had 40 pounds. Was Usyk technically is a much better boxer than Fury. I've said this before, before they even made the fights. I said Usyk's always going to be a much better boxer than Tyson Fury. But also Usyk's a legit heavyweight. By the time he fought Tyson Fury and AJ, he was solid at the weight. Like you looked at him when he went into that ring, he was a solid heavyweight. That guy could go in there, beat Daniel Dubois, stop him. That guy could go in there, beat Anthony Joshua. That guy could go in there and beat Tyson Fury, and he didn't look out of place. Physically, obviously, they look much bigger than him, size-wise, obviously, pause. But he looked like a heavyweight. Crawford fought Madrimov. He won that fight. It was a tough fight. Like Madrimov's not a big light middleweight, and even still, it looked like Madrimov's shots had more of the punch on it. And Crawford looked a bit shocked in the sense where, like you say, he went on that run at welterweight where he was dominant. Like he knocked everyone out.
Well, when we say we're dominant against again. No, I'm not gonna try and I'm not a mean machine. Broken Errol Spence, Amir Khan.
Hey, he cheated against Khan.
Like, do you get on coming from?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the same as like it's not they're good names and they're solid. It's a solid resume. I'm not trying to trying to take that away in any capacity, but it's the same guy that was wobbled by a mean machine. You had a tough fight until what it was with Porter. You was wobbled by Gamboa. Why do you think you're gonna get with Canelo at his weight class with no advantages? Apparently, he's not even a rehydration clause.
No, there isn't. Yeah.
That's when I said, yeah, this guy's insane. Canelo's gonna be 190 in the night.
Yeah. That's the thing I'm saying is, like, he's probably got all this confidence, right? But also, I think when he fought Madrimov, there's a kind of payoff in his head where, I'm not as good as I used to be. Because that Madrimov fight was quite tough for him to win. Like, he won it. He clearly won it. But he had to work very hard to win that.
Yeah, he was made to work. It was every minute of every round.
And I think in his head, he thought, I'm the pound for pound number one. A guy like Madrimov, I should be stopping. And because it didn't happen, I think he's been looking for that payday now. I'm with Riyadh season. I'm 30. I'm turning 38 this September. Let me get something that is going to make me and my family generational wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what I think it is. I mean, look, Crawford, no one can take away from the competitive mindset. That guy's a crazy guy. And, when he fights Canelo, I don't have a doubt that he'll probably go after and try to win the fight. I just think in his head, the move came from this is my last fight. Let me go out on the biggest bang possible. There's no thought process in terms of, I think I really can beat Canelo, in the sense of, there's something that Canelo showed me, or there's something that I've done that no, it's more the sense of, I'm going to go after it. I'm going to go fight.
So basically you're saying you want payday.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense. Fair enough. You're going to get how much money, and you've worked so hard in this sport where you deserve that payday. Fair enough. You get that payday. Go ahead.
And the worst bit is as well, not only turning 38, you have been very inactive. Like, Crawford has been very inactive. Like, he's had 2 fights in the last how many years?
Yeah.
It's just not making sense. Like, that's why, generally speaking, as far as it's a cash out. It's a cash out move, and you're gonna turn around and say, "Oh yeah, I chased greatness and I fell short," but which is fine. But just don't stink the place out, man. Don't get in your back.
Yeah. Don't do a Charlo.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna step up, show out, and if you don't, then we're not really gonna say much. Or he gave it a go or something like that. We're not gonna do that. It's not that. But yeah, I just can't. I just think initially he might give Canelo some problems with his boxing, but But the thing about Crawford is he's not a Mayweather. He's not some elite defensive counter puncher. He's a good counter puncher. He's got great timing, but he also likes to sit inside, get his shots off. Even if it puts him in the line of shots, it's because he knows he's going to get his off first. You can't, but he does get hit in most fights, except the Spence fight, of course. In most fights, he does get hit. And I think against Canelo, he's going to feel the power. And I just think Canelo, even though Canelo's last couple performances, I don't rate highly. They're not good. They're not really good wins like that. Berlanga, Munguia, they're not really great wins. But he knocked both of them down. Like it was so quick. The Canelo's that kind of flash of vintage Canelo was always there in those fights, and I think he's going to show it again. I think he'll drop Crawford.
I guess a natural like a 135er who's been blown up. He's been blown up all the way to 168, where bad results, man.
But if I play on the flip side, outside of Benavidez, for Canelo, there's no bigger fight. There really isn't. This fight, even though on paper it doesn't really seem like it's such a super fight. The way they can push it and the way they can in the American media and all of that, they could push this as a super fight.
Yeah, it's super fight against super fight, isn't it?
Yeah, like undisputed against former undisputed against undisputed, pound for pound number one against pound for pound number whatever, and they can really push this, and this would do numbers in the sport, and this would actually, it's embarrassing. Yeah, and the result of it in terms of the fight might be embarrassing for the sport, but the actual fight itself might be healthy for the sport, like in terms of the attraction it brings over, like the amount of people that are going to tune into this, because you're going to get casual fans tuning into this. You're going to get so many casuals, especially in America. But the result might disappoint a lot of people because
mostly Crawford fans.
No, even Canelo fans. I feel like it's not gonna be destructive. It's just gonna be tame. I think both of them are at that position where, hey, let's go get this big payday, and then we can ride off into the sunset and get our because we've done everything we can. Like to me, nothing about this screams, "Oh, this is a really good fight," on paper. It just screams cash out, and it might be the pessimist in me because I know a lot of people are excited for this and they think Crawford could do it and whatnot. But the pessimist in me just screams Crawford is doing what he can for his family now. Like he's done all he can, and like Floyd Mayweather says, legacy doesn't feed your family. If his undefeated record has to go, at least he makes 100 million for it. So
yeah, it's
not like he's going to be complaining. But it's a huge fight, and when it gets announced and when they start doing the tours and all the press tours and all that, I'm going to get excited by it.
It's going to be a complete circus.
But that's it. It's a circus show. It's a borderline circus show, because if we're being honest, there are better fights for both guys. Canelo has leaders that he could have gone for. Canelo also has other guys at 168 that could have gone for, like Mbili, for example. Crawford has Fundura. Fundura's free now. Spence ain't fighting him. Fundura's free. Go and fight him. Or there's Murtazaliev. Or look, if Virgil Ortiz beats Madrimov, that could be a big fight. Crawford and Ortiz. But like I said, it's a payday. He's not waiting too long for other guys to come around. Ross says, too much is made of the size difference. Is it really any different to say Hagler or Barkley versus Duran, for example? Hagler fought Duran, right? And it wasn't a great outcome. Hearns fought Duran, wasn't a great outcome. Duran's a great fighter, but everyone always knows the elite of his career came from 135. When he stepped up, he was elite to show that he was beating all these guys, even beating Sugar Ray Leonard. But when Sugar Ray Leonard ran it back, what happened? No mas.
Mm-hmm.
And Sugar Ray Leonard wasn't even that much bigger than him. Like, so, I mean, yeah, he's saying about Iran Barkley, but in comparison, Iran Barkley is a brilliant boxer. But if you compare Barkley and Duran and Crawford and Canelo, you're not really going to say Barkley and Canelo are that much lower than Crawford, if that makes sense. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting, especially I know what's his name. Turkey's wanted this for quite a while.
Yeah, he's been his wish list of matchups in it. So That's what's pushing us forward. So
Canelo's power ain't all that at 168. Who's he ever knocked out cold? Amir Khan. Well, that was at 160. So, but you'd have to.
It still remains the same, isn't it?
You'd have to bring it up. Yeah, that never happened. But no, but 168, he's dropped everyone. No, he's dropped John Ryder. He's dropped Edgar Berlanga. He dropped.
You know what? I forget that. I forget actually because the fight was going UD. I forget, but then I do feel that Canelo is more than happy to carry the fight on as well.
Yeah, he does. He's been doing that. Like he even when you saw Munguia, he got knocked out by that non-puncher in December. You could Canelo even admit I carried him. I just wanted to go to the distance. So I carried him because, like I said, the reason why he carries him is because you have to do less work to carry them. Like you could go and knock him out, but it's more work to go and more effort, and he can put that in, but he doesn't want to. He just wants to kind of cruise his way to a win and make money off of it and not take much damage.
Yeah.
I just don't rate Canelo's skills like that. He's benefited from a division of plotters. He's been up multiple divisions. Come on.
He's been around for decades now. It's all right, man. He's in his Mayweather era. It's fine. Like I'm not angry for it at all.
Yeah. And another fight that's on the horizon, that again, it's going to be big, but on paper, I don't think it's going to be what it's cracked out to be. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. It feels like it's a bit of deja vu. We talked about this like 3 years ago. Remember, we were kind of previewing this, and then
was it 3 years ago that was?
Yeah, almost 3 years ago. Yeah,
that is insane. Wait, hold on. Conor Benn basically just did the ban. He just did the ban. He just did the ban they were meant to do.
But kind of, because he still fought in America in between. So,
but if it was banned, he still could have fought in America anyway.
Oh, fair, yeah. So,
but in the UK, he just basically waited his ban up.
Yeah, basically.
Damn.
But
now on the flip side, one could argue this has benefited Ben in terms of this fight because Eubank is getting older. 3 years, and he was struggling at the weight as well.
Yeah, but there's no rehydration clause this time. Well, they're trying to put one on, but there's at the moment it doesn't seem like there is one.
If I was Eubank, absolutely no chance of putting any rehydration. No chance of you having any kind of benefit. If I was Eubank, this should be a 168. To be honest with you, because what the hell? I didn't get busted. You did.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm just the thing is, British boxing needs this. If you want to keep the sport healthy, you need a stadium fight regularly. So Joshua Dubois was very healthy for British boxing because we didn't have anything other than that. If we're being on big fights, this is going to be healthy for the sport because I think they're going to do it on in Tottenham Stadium, and also there are a couple British stars that they need to push on these cards. I think they're going to put Adam Azim on the undercard, which will be good for his profile. Obviously, he's got Lipinets the week after. So, but that would be good to push him. I think Vidal, they're looking at putting Vidal Riley on this one. Obviously, his fight got cancelled. These are rumors. Obviously, nothing's been kind of confirmed. These are the people they're looking at. But it makes sense because, again, you need these big fights because, firstly, Eubank, we're being honest, Eubank Jr. versus Ben is going to, like it did in the first time they got announced and we were close to getting the fight, it's going to get the casuals' interest. It's going to be on billboards and posters and buses everywhere.
If it's the same rollout that they did for the fight first time around, where this time's like all the build-up that's happened now is going to be insane.
Yeah, the fact that, you've got all this controversy that, you've got Conor Benn with all the drugs. You've got them, all these face-offs that they had in between each other. You've got Eubank with all his fixing issues with his fixer and contract person that he's got. So that big issue. That's why Sky don't want to put it on. So you've got all these big issues with it. There's all the controversy, and you may not like the controversy, but unfortunately it does sell. So these lot are going to make more money from this and it's going to get more interest. And that's why they're looking at stadium fight, not doing O2 Arena. But they're going to stadium fight. I think it's going to be the first edition of, because Turkey bought the ring, it's going to be his first edition of the ring cards that he's going to start doing now, making the ring not only a magazine but also a promotion. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of unfolds. But this is an interesting fight because Do I know what to expect? I have an idea, but not really. What do you expect?
Well, it depends. Like, we just don't know who's going to turn up in both sides. Like, we don't know what version of Ben we're going to get because we've got a clean athlete now. I should hope.
Well,
But
we have.
without the the extra egg like running through his system, and we've got Chris who's aging and like he's getting older, and you can see his love for the sport has never really been there like that to the degree that it should be there for like world champion, and he's been showing it just coasting, hasn't he? And if Ben comes in their game, Chris can really find out. Do you know what I mean? And we've seen his chin get checked now. But before we was under the impression his chin wasn't like infallible, but it turns out nope, he can get cracked the same way.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like you say, the weight cut is going to be a big thing because even in the last fight against Sharameta on the Better Be of undercard, he looked drained at the weigh-in. He looked like he didn't look great at the weigh-in. Obviously, as you get older, it gets harder to make the weight, and he's not someone that's particularly fat. He's quite lean. Even when he's out of camp, he's quite lean. So, like having to do that again will be interesting, and especially if they put a rehydration clause,
Yeah,
then that would be harder for him to kind of thing. But Conor Ben's never been anything spectacular. He's a very basic boxer. Even then, he still does the basics a bit. But without the PDs, we've seen him without the PDs. Against Cedric Paynold getting dropped, struggling in that fight. But then even on the PDs, if you actually analyze his career, who has he fought that you kind of go? Who's he fought and beat that you kind of go, oh, you know what? That's a good win.
Chris Algieri.
Not really. Because Chris Algieri
was a good win at the time. Like we didn't expect him to demolish him the way he did.
No, but you have to remember Chris Algieri was a nutritionist at that time. He gave up on boxing.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah,
you're
right. That is history originally. I just did. Like, I've just taken a name, but the reality is he actually was retired.
Yeah, he was done. Chris Van Heerden, remember he fought Van Heerden after that. Van Heerden was retired as well because of COVID. Because remember, these guys didn't get the big opportunities afterwards, so they retired during COVID. And then Conor Ben's coming around, knocking around, saying, "Look, do you want to do a fight in?" I think was it the O2 or something like that. It was definitely on a show or something. And they're going to take it, and then they're going to train, but they're not what they used to be. And so that's why, he did what he did. But then when he got off the PDs and he went to America and he fought, he looked very average. He looked bang average. He didn't even look great. He struggled against Dobson. He really did. He struggled against Peter Dobson. And Peter Dobson, we saw Jalil Hackett beat. So I think for Conor Ben, it's like there's a rematch clause involved as well, by the way.
I didn't know that.
So that's interesting.
Why is there a rematch clause? No one cares.
Money in it.
There's no belt on this. Like there's nothing to this.
It's just money. It's literally just money. It's all to do with money.
Can we get some sort of rules in place about rematch clauses? Because this is getting ridiculous now.
Yeah. So, so there's that. I mean, like there's a rematch clause in place, but also I think if you're looking at from Eddie Hearn's side and what they've been talking about is it's either Barrios for the WBC belt, which on the off chance he could win, but I still think Barrios probably beats him, or go for Eubank in this big fight. And you got to make this fight. I'm sorry, but with Conor Ben, even if he loses, people won't really get at him and be like, "Oh, you lost," because they'll be like, "Oh, well, you jumped up 2 weight classes." So it makes sense.
Conor's got to get out clause all day long.
Basically, yeah, and he's going to make a crap ton of money from it. And I think as a promoter, you kind of have to come to that realization: can I make this guy a world champion, or should I just maximize the amount of money I can get? If you're going to maximize it, maximize it, and this is how they're going to do it. But like I said, I'm happy for British boxing in the sense of we need a big fight. It's unfortunate it's a fight. It's a weird fight because this has got so much controversy. I mean, we're basically rewarding PED drug users and all of that, and also guys that are with contract fixers and all of that with Eubank. But it is what it is. It's very odd that also, did you see the MP that somehow, for some reason, brought up the fight in the House of Commons?
No, I missed that.
There's a video going around where they're in the House of Commons and then this random MP brings up would the how they go, oh, would the I think it's the secretary or something, entertainment I forgot what secretary, please join me in congratulating the announcement of the biggest and the best British boxing fight we have in Eubank Jr. And I'm thinking, if you're a boxing fan and Eubank Jr. versus Ben is the best fight that British boxing has to offer, that's not a good thing to say. That is not a good thing to say at all. Like, that just shows you we're in the dumps right now. There is nothing for us at the moment when it comes to our shows and what we can put on. I mean, I love Riyadh season. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but and Joshua Dubois was brilliant. But Eubank Ben is not the best fight we can have to offer. And also, talent-wise, we need to improve because we're soon gonna have only 2 male world champions.
At one point, we had like 14.
We had an insane number. Now we only have 2. Now we only have 3. But if Kakache vacates, because obviously they're looking at making the Wood fight at 135, then long day. Only 2. Daniel Dubois, who's an email champion, and then Nick Ball, who some people think he didn't deserve the belt. So that's it's a sorry state of affairs. But hopefully, I think they're going to announce this fight this week. I think, or next week. I think they're just sorting out the final details. But everything's basically done. They say it's a done deal. So now they just need to announce it, and then it's going to take over the internet for a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see, because I think the date is April 26th. So
okay, quite some lead time. Yeah, they're going to roll out everything.
Yeah, they're going to do a whole big press conference, all that stuff. So that'll be interesting.
Do 25 documentaries each.
Oh yeah. And speaking of stuff that involves random rematch clauses that don't need it, it's been announced that apparently the plan for Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia is a trilogy bouts. They've planned out this entire trilogy notion for them. So the plan is Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia are going to fight in Times Square, which, again, I'm interested to see how they fight in Times Square, because I've never seen a boxing fight happen in Times Square. In May, Ryan Garcia, apparently they're looking at making him versus Pitbull Cruz, and Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez, and they're both on the same card. And then if they win their fights, they open Riyadh season in October with their rematch, and then that rematch has a rematch clause. So then they'll have a trilogy bout in February. Thoughts on that?
I didn't know the details of this. I knew there was looking to run it back and it was going to be in the same card, but I didn't first I knew it was in Town Square. What? Actual Town Square. Okay. That's interesting. Fair enough. That would make for, like, a good story, I guess. But in terms of actual fight, boy, oh boy. Haney's in trouble, man. I actually genuinely think Haney's in trouble, because at no point has he actually, like, he's so, like, hell-bent on the idea that the steroids will beat him, and he's ignoring the fact that he just get caught with a left hook. Like, I like Haney, and I think he's a throwback in the sense of he will fight anyone, and you kind of want guys like that to do well. So is Garcia, to be honest with you. These guys actually have mixed it up out of all the ones, the 4 kings. Yeah. So I kind of want, and it's like, I know that both will go on and have successful careers and probably meet down the line again, whatever. But seriously, Haney, you need to learn to accept the fact that you just get caught with a hook. And if you don't correct that, then you're gonna lose the same way. Then what do you do?
You know what's a caveat to that as well? Apparently, the winner of the Haney Garcia trilogy, Teofimo Lopez, apparently the plan is they're going to get Teofimo Lopez to fight Boots later this year, and the winner of Lopez versus Boots will take on the winner of Haney versus Garcia.
At what weight is Haney and Garcia?
They're all going to do it at 147.
Oh, they're all going to 147
by the end of the year.
Oh, sugar, that makes it lit. I can't lie. Fair enough. So we're gonna get Boots in the mix
again. Yeah, so he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Stanionis. They're making that fight now for April. I think I don't know what that's gonna be really good. I don't think Boots is a confirmed win. Like, that's not a that's a gimme fight.
Yeah.
Then Teofimo Lopez, I think they're looking at trying to make him versus Richardson Hitchens this year. Then Lopez and Boots will fight later this year. That's what they're looking at. Again, none of this has kind of been.
But this all sounds like these plans can get ruined, man. These are fights they can lose.
Yeah. These interim fights.
Turkey don't mind it, innit? Turkey don't mind that. Oh, he's torn up the script so many times now.
Yeah, even Haney's and Garcia's interim fights that they have, they could lose that. Like
100%. Yeah. You said Pitbull.
Yeah, Pitbull for Garcia, and Haney's got Jose Ramirez. Now Jose Ramirez kind of washed, but still, anything can happen.
Yeah.
We saw that with Wilder and Parker and Joshua and Wallin. Like that. The plans for
The
Joshua.
minute you start looking past your fighter, you lose.
Yeah.
Every time the script always remains the same.
You can't make these long-winded plans. You got to just make one plan, one fight. Go, okay, once we do this, we'll then do this. But let's get through this first, because this. But yeah, so that's interesting. There's going to be a whole kind of four-man tournament between the lot, where they want Boots to pick up 2 belts. They want Lopez to pick up 2 belts at 140 and then come up to 147, basically, and mix it up with the rest of them. Let's see if that happens. It's just there's a lot to do it. There's some things that have been happening behind the scenes that have been not confirming, but kind of pushing the idea that Lopez might fight Hitchens because he signed a new manager, Keith Connolly, who's a really good manager, but he's also Hitchens' manager. And Keith Connolly also got Edgar Berlanga out of his contract with Top Rank and brought him to Matchroom, which
I see
they might do with
because,
Top Rank.
of course, Lopez has been locked in it with Top Rank. I think
so they offered him 2.8 million to fight Matias this year. It was meant to happen, and then he said no to it. So I think the reason he said no is because he wanted more money for it.
Yeah,
he said if they weren't putting it on pay-per-view, fine, give me more money. So that's a big thing.
But Teo will fight anyone. You can tell he'll fight anyone. Again,
yeah, he's not scared of Matias, but he's just dumb when it comes to business decisions. Like he thinks
he's
more.
Very emotional.
Yeah, and he thinks he can walk into a room and like he can walk into a stadium and sell it out, and really he can't. If we're being honest, he can't. He's not a star. If we're being honest, he's not. He's a really good fighter, but he's not on it. He's not a star. But this Haney Garcia trilogy is quite interesting. Let's see if they get it cracking. I'm just quite disappointing in Devin Haney that you spent a year of your career out of the ring to wait for Ryan Garcia rather than just get cracking on, especially when you're young. These years aren't coming back to you.
I think his jaw's broken.
What, you think it took him that long to kind of recover from it?
I think behind the scenes he's probably been working on this whole like defense and just took some time to like realize, but to recover, reheal, because he's been in a lot of camps and stuff. A lot of fighters find little pockets to take these breaks if you read that, like, and I think this might just be one of the things where he thinks, you know what, he needs to freshen up a bit, and I think his jaw was done as well. That even though he's been speaking, even in interviews now, I'm like, this guy's jaw must have been done.
That could be a factor, to be fair, yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they get on, because I think now everyone's kind of looking for that Turkey payday, and they're just going to be, going along with these plans. So let's see how that turns out. But yeah, on the weekend you've got Naoya Inoue defending his undisputed super bantamweight titles. He's meant to fight his mandatory Sam Goodman, who pulled out in December, which is why the fight got pushed back to this Friday. And then he pulled out again with a cut eye, and his eye keeps getting cut and reopened. So he's really got to get surgery on that and get that sorted, because if it happens again, he's not going to be able to get any fights. But it's what I said. I think I said it on the Twitter account a time ago about Sam Goodman. When Inoue fought Neri in May, Goodman called him out, went into the ring. Yeah, I want to fight you next. But then Goodman decided, oh, well, Inoue wants to fight in September. Let me have a tune-up fight in August, and then we'll see. He got his hand. He struggled in that tune-up, and he got his hand injured in that tune-up. So Doheny got the fight in September, and then they went to December to fight. And then now look, Sam Goodman's kind of being left out in the dust. So he's missed his chance to make the biggest payday that he will ever get in his career. Sam Goodman, I'm sorry, this is not me trying to be a waste man, but you're never going to be able to get into a position where you're going to make $1 million in one night. Not at those weight classes and not the way he fights. And you just screwed the pooch. So fair enough. The thing I'll get onto Inoue for, this replacement opponent is dog crap. He's rubbish. I've seen his fight. He's rubbish. He's not even undefeated. That's the problem. That's at least if you get a rubbish undefeated fighter, fair enough. He's rubbish. He is genuinely bad. Like, I don't even think they would get this guy to come in and spar in a way. People wouldn't even watch it. Like, he's bad. There are other fighters on that were available that would have taken it on 2 weeks' notice. They wouldn't have posed much threat to Inoue. Fine, on 2 weeks' notice, you don't want a guy that poses a lot of threat. Fair enough. But someone better than this. This is going to be a shit show. Like, if Inoue doesn't win in this situation, if that makes sense. Like, he has to win and he has to blast him out, and there's nothing else on it. But the plan is, I'm guessing what they're saying is Inoue they're gonna fight again in April. in Vegas, and then fight again in the autumn in Saudi Arabia, or in December in Saudi Arabia. So he's going to have 3 or 4 fights this year, and he's going to take on his mandatories, and he's going to fight MJ Ahmad Aliyev as well. So it'll be interesting. But this fight, there's not much to preview. If Inoue doesn't blast him out within the first round, there's nothing to kind of be excited about. I'm going to watch it when I can. I'm going to try to watch it because I'll be at work, but there's nothing to kind of be interested about. Watch some of the undercards. There's obviously Jin Sasaki on it. There's other fights on it that you can watch, but it's not really something. If it was Goodman, yeah, it would have been great, but this is nothing really interesting to watch. Ra says Inoue turning into Canelo. He wants easy nights work from him. Okay, look, if this is a recurring theme, then fair enough. But you have to remember, Inoue fought Doheny because Doheny has a lot of stuff. People forget Doheny is quite big in Japan because he's fought there quite a bit. And then he fought obviously Luis Neri, and then before that he fought Tapales. Then before that he fought Fulton. Then before that he fought Donaire. But let's see what the next fight is from Inoue. And then this fight, which is quite interesting from the Matchroom card, Diego Pacheco, they're one of their USA prized prospects, was now taking on Steven Nelson, which I think is a top fight, like very good fight. Like this is very well matched. Steven Nelson, obviously famously, he trains with Bud. He works out of that camp, but also he's undefeated. He's very good at what he does. Crafty, fast combinations. He's got great composure. He's one of those guys. He's 36, hasn't had that kind of push, but this is a big fight for him. And I think this is a fight that he's not outmatched in. He can definitely fight in this one. And Diego Pacheco, 23, they're looking at trying to make him the next big thing at super middleweight, maybe after Canelo, or getting a Canelo fight, or maybe after Canelo taking the belts. This is a good fight to see whether or not he's on the level. Like when you're building a prospect, this is the type of fight you need. At one point, you gotta go, screw it, let's put him in the deep end. Let's put him in a fight where he could lose. And if he shows up, then we know we've got a guy who can win a world title on our hands. And if he doesn't, then cool, we go back to the drawing board and see what we can do with him. But I'm excited for this fight. I might stay up for it because it's undefeated. It's undefeated. 2 good super middleweight fighters, and the winner, in my opinion, especially if they look really good, they probably go on to win a world title at super middleweight after Canelo vacates all of it. Have you? What's your thoughts on Diego Pacheco?
I'm not really that tuned in.
What about Steven Nelson? You seen Steven Nelson?
No, not much really.
He was on the August 3rd undercard.
For Canelo, Crawford.
Yeah. He was on that one, so it'll be interesting. I think this fight, it's a good fight. Like I think it's the best fight of the weekend. But yeah, I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be fantastic. And again, the winner, in my opinion, should go on to push for a world title. And that division is quite interesting because obviously Canelo's holding up all the belts, but you got the likes of Christian and Billy. Munguia, who got recently knocked out, so there's that interesting factor in there. And you've also got Berlanga still there. Pacheco versus Berlanga would be big. You've also got Kevin Saggio as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they get up to. But yeah, I think we've covered most of the topics for today. So make sure you subscribe and like. That we're going to keep doing weekly pods, and now we're on a new platform, so there's going to be more coming out in the next couple months. So please subscribe, like, share the video, comment, do all of that stuff, and yeah, really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy the fights this weekend. And look, boxing's back to a kicker. Obviously, after this weekend, you've got February 1st, Benavidez versus Morel. We're going to be previewing that. That's going to be interesting to see.
That's coming around the corner. Damn, one of the best fights of the year.
Yeah, so there's that to cover. So we've got a lot to talk about then. So make sure you're tuning in. We'll be back here again. See you then. Peace.
Peace.